Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to today's survival school, our fourth session, the end of our second week. How's everybody feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. Pretty good.
Good, thank you.
Wonderful. So glad to have everyone. Let me see, we have a new person coming in. Greetings. Hello, we have someone new today. So if everyone can just go around and introduce themselves and their pronouns, we can get to see who is in the room. I'll start. My name is Regina Lynn, and I'm the mutual aid organizer with SDA and co-host of the Survival School. My pronouns are she, her, and Miss Regina. And I'm going to choose Dawson and introduce them as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Dawson Na and I use they them pronouns. I'm a survival school organizer at SDA and I'm excited to be here to support the class with tech today. So if you have any tech questions, feel free to direct message me. Check. I'll pick Rebecca next because unless you want to do it, Regina.
Oh no, go right ahead.
Okay, Rebecca, you're right next to me on the screen. So.
Okay, thanks. Oh, can you hear me? I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes.
I am Rebecca. I'm a peer advocate with SDA, and my pronouns are she, her. I am really enjoying this survival school. I'm really happy to be here. Next person I will pick is Lisa.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here. Miss Regina, she invited me to come and talk a little bit about our Safe at Home program and what we do at Rebuilding Together. So I don't think I'm slated to say anything until about 2:15. So I will just be here listening and hearing about all of you. So thank you for the opportunity to be here with you. I appreciate that very much.
We're so happy to have you.
Oh, I have to pick
Heidi.
someone.
Oh, yes.
Yes. How about Dasom? Is that right?
Dawson just went. Yes.
Oh, she did. Oh, sorry. I wasn't looking. I was listening. How about Andrea?
Hello, Andrea. Would you like to introduce yourself and your pronouns? I think perhaps they might be multitasking. Heidi?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Heidi. I am here to interpret from English to Spanish along with my colleague. And I'm just happy to be here. I cross my fingers. I hope some Spanish speaking community join us today. Thank you. Florencia, we're both here.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Florencia. I'm the other interpreter. And yeah, here available in case there are monolingual Spanish speakers who join. And I pass it to Maya.
Hi, I am Maya Scott Chung. My pronouns are they, them, and she, her. I'm here in Oakland. I'm actually in Oakland Hospital because my daughter got hospitalized a couple of days ago. So medical teams are coming in and out, but I'm trying to participate. And I'm wondering, I don't see the transcription. I usually cut and paste the transcription too. So I just want to ask if that's on for today, the live transcript.
Dawson, would you be able to do that?
Yeah, I just didn't see it up. Usually I cut
I
and paste it
believe-
if I can't participate too much.
I believe I need to be made host to be able to figure out automatic live transcript.
Oh, no.
Is that something that you could do?
Yeah, I'll look at it. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing it every time. It's been really, really helpful. So I appreciate it if it's possible. Thank you so much.
Who would like to go next? Maya, did you want to choose someone? Okay, then I will.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm multitasking here.
Okay. So Ray, would you like to go next?
Yes, my name is Ray. I'm in Newark, California, and my pronoun is he, him.
And thank you, Ray. Thank you for being here.
you're
And
welcome.
Sonia?
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Lavender, and I go by she, her, and I'm grateful to be here today. Thank you.
And Henrietta?
Yes, hi, my name is Henrietta, and I'm real happy to be here today. Thank you for the invite.
Wonderful. And Doug, thank you for coming. Would you like to introduce yourself and say your pronouns, please? Okay, so we're going to move forward. It's now 1:10. So I just wanted to check in and go over our housekeeping agreements for the sessions that we are here together to share community and to learn. And so all perspectives, although they may differ, everyone's coming from their own experience and lived perspective, and we're making space in this room for everyone to share from their own lived experience. So all truth is truth. We're definitely going to practice one mic, one voice, which is pretty much par for the course on Zoom. Step up and step back. Being mindful of time constraints for certain segments, and also allowing those who don't speak as much space to step up. And if we find ourselves being exuberant around commenting and responses, that we'll step back a little bit to create that space. Also, if anything of a personal nature is shared in the space, let's practice the Vegas rule. What gets said in survival school stays in survival school. If someone has piqued your curiosity, or you want to go deeper with something, then perhaps ask a person's permission if it's okay if you were to ask them a question, you know. So, okay, I'm going to take care of that, Dawson. So right now, we are going to go into our icebreakers. Just to break the ice a little bit, relax us, get to know each other a little bit. So first question is, if you were going to sing karaoke, what would be the song that you would sing? Who would like to go first?
I will.
Okay, Sonia. If
I
you were
will
going to
s-
sing karaoke, what song would you pick?
I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor.
Okay, could you choose someone?
Henrietta.
I would sing I Can See Clearly Now, and the composer or the singer, it's slipping my mind. I know it well. But if I could, I mean, I Can See Clearly Now.
Brain is gone. Was that Dionne Warwick or it's on mine too. It's gonna be on my head all day. I'll figure it out.
He's from the islands, and I can't. It'll come to me before we off. I know it'll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you choose someone, Henrietta?
Okay. Let's see. I don't know people. What about? I don't know. Is Maya available? Is she at the
Yeah,
hospital with her
she's
daughter?
there.
Okay, Maya. I choose Maya.
My apologies. I'm in a hospital and somebody was coming in and out here. Yeah. I was thinking We Are Family is what I would do today. We are family. Yes. I was looking up I Can See Clearly Now. Put the YouTube
Okay,
in there.
thank you for your share. Can you
Um,
choose the next person? Thank you.
Yes. I can't, is CTRC? Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
So can't hear you. Can anybody hear CTRC?
Mm-mm. Okay, Rebecca, would you like to go next?
Let's see. I would have to think the first thing that comes to mind would be my high school graduation song we danced to, which was 1999 by Prince. So first one I can think of.
Cool. Can you choose someone, please? Heidi, would you like to go next?
Oh, interpreters are not participants, but okay,
Okay.
if Heidi feels it.
Okay, for some reason I can't hear.
She's on the English channel.
Ah,
So in order to hear her, you'd have to select the English channel.
that's right.
Hi, Eleanor.
Thank you. And Ray, would you like to go next? Doug, would you like to share with us? If you had to sing karaoke, what song would you pick? Okay, I'll go next. If I had to sing karaoke, what song would I choose? I guess I would choose Try by Jill Scott.
Mhm.
Dawson, would you like to go next? If you had to sing karaoke, what song would you pick?
Yes, totally. My go-to is definitely "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston. Um, next, Lisa, have you gone?
My favorite is, gosh, I think it's Judy Garland sings it, and it's "Every Day That Comes once in a lifetime."
That's nice.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's a great song, really, like, yeah.
So Andrea, you were muted. We didn't get to hear you. Would you like to share? Can anyone hear her?
No.
No, okay.
I would like to hear.
I would love for you to share, Monique. If you were going to sing karaoke, what song would you pick?
Prince, 1999.
Oh, that's a popular one today, right? For sure. And we have Eleanor.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I went to Prince too. I have been singing "Nothing Compares to You" a lot this week, so that's what I think. That's what I would go for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I love
Right?
it.
Yes,
Right?
you and me, Monique.
Yeah, such a classic. I love that. Thank you, everyone.
Regina,
Thank you. Yes.
can I tell the author name, the one who sings I Can See Clearly Now?
Sure.
It's Johnny Nash.
Oh, Johnny Nash.
Johnny Nash. Right.
Okay. So now we're going to go into a 5-minute meditation and just do a little bit of breath work. So everyone get comfortable. Bring your shoulders up to your ears. Ball your fists and let them go. Shoulders up to your ears. Ball up your fists and release. One more time. Shoulders up to your ears. Ball up your fists real tight. And then release. And then get comfortable wherever you are, if you're sitting or laying or supine. And we're going to do the 3 breath. So we're going to inhale through our nose for a count of 3. We're going to hold for a count of 3. And we're going to exhale through our mouth. And I'll walk you through the first 3 cycles, okay? So if you want to, go ahead and have your eyelids a little bit lowered so you can get into that Zen space. So we're going to go ahead and inhale through the nose, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3. Inhale through the nose, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale through the mouth, 2, 3. Inhale through the nose, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale through the mouth, 2, 3. Inhale through the nose, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Exhale through the mouth, 2, 3. Nose inhale, 2, 3. Hold, 2, 3. Mouth exhale, 2, 3. And continue on your own through that cycle. Nose inhale. Hold. Exhale. Nose inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. And continue. That was wonderful. Everyone come back into the room. Your eyelids open. Does that feel very calming?
Yes.
Ready for our first presenter, focused, ready to give them all of our attention. We are happy to have Eleanor Liu with Causa Justa, Just Cause, the Tenant Services Coordinator Lead.
Hey everyone, it's really great to be here. Thank you, Regina, so much for inviting me and for that breathing exercise. And good thanks to the interpreters. So I am, yes, my name is Eleanor and I work at Causa Justa, Just Cause. And I'll be sharing a little bit of information with you all about our work and about tenants' rights and our movement for tenants' rights. So before I start, I'm curious who in the room, what people already know about Causa Justa. Has anybody heard of Just Cause or heard of Causa Justa? I see a hand. I know there's some folks not on video. Yeah, I see a couple hands. Okay. If anybody wants to share either out loud or in the chat, like one thing you know about CJJC, just for me to get a sense of what people might already know.
I've used you guys before a few times regarding issues with my owner, and I had letters written, and that was very good, very helpful.
Nice.
And they referred me to a bunch of other places, you know, I mean, after I finished using you guys, and it was a big help. It's a big help.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so we do a lot of tenants' rights work. And can you share your name again?
Andrea.
Andrea. So as Andrea shared, you know, when tenants are having issues with their landlords, supporting folks with things like writing letters, educating folks about what rights they have, and really supporting people in their own power to fight back when their landlords are abusing their power. And we do more than tenants' rights work. We work to build power and solidarity in working class Black and Brown communities, both in Oakland and in San Francisco. And we're really working to change the system more broadly and the conditions that our people live in. And we believe that the people who are suffering the most because of the injustices of our current system should be the people leading to the change. So we're known for our housing work, as well as for our immigrants' rights work. We also do work around decarceration. So last summer, we were part of a coalition to close the jail at 850 Bryant, as well as getting a bunch of folks released from Santa Rita in the, during the pandemic.
Question.
Yeah. Go for it. Did you have a question, Andrea?
Oh, yes. So, I mean, you said you were helping, help with the incarcerated. Does that include them having their records expunged as well?
That's not something that we focus on directly, but we definitely have allies who do that work. Yeah, we don't provide legal services.
Okay.
So even like with tenants' rights, if someone needs a lawyer, we refer elsewhere for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's a great question.
Yeah, because I went to Laney for a little while, and I know they help. They have it's a class or a group called ROC, Restoring Our Communities. They help.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a part of that as well. I mean, I've been to Santa Rita, and I mean, I didn't need my records expunged or anything. The case was closed, but they do help a lot. And then there is also a program that helps, if they haven't finished school, the 5 Keys program. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. Get your high school diploma. I also used them and got my high school diploma and graduated in 2017.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing those resources as well. Yeah, getting lots of love from folks. That's awesome. So yeah, and I think part of, as you're speaking to Andrea, like part of our work is also connecting people to each other, to other resources, and sharing knowledge amongst each other. We had a Know Your Rights training last night, and part of what was beautiful about that was people not just learning the information that we were there to share, but sharing strategies with each other, right? So it's about developing our collective power, our collective knowledge. And we believe that the housing crisis and gentrification is not just caused by greedy landlords or rich techies or fancy coffee shops. It's actually caused by policies and by a whole system that values profit more than people. And so when we fight evictions and when we support each other in fighting eviction, we're saying, people's right to a home is more important than any landlord's right to make a profit. And our systems really need to be built around that right. So our work is both supporting people on a one-on-one basis or small groups, but we're also fighting to actually change laws. So winning tenant protections and really organizing to keep pushing the law to better reflect our basic human rights.
I mean, how would that work with the housing authority? Because they're crap too. They don't care about anyone. They're too quick to take your voucher from you for no reason. And I've been having a lot of issues with them lately.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It seems like they're siding with the owners, even though they know they're wrong and slumlords. They will stick with the owners for the tenants. I've been under Section 8 for 20 plus, almost 30 years. Never late with rent. And it's like when I call and complain, I can't get help. That's why I've used you guys a few times. And then when I came in with letters, my owner he's okay for a minute, but then I've had to come back, and then I was referred to East Bay Community Law Center. And I've gotten some help from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gracie Jones.
I sure am.
Yeah, she has helped me. And recently I had to ask her for help and she turned me away and sent me back to you guys.
It's a huge problem. Like there are not enough organizations by a long shot doing the work that needs to be done. And exactly as you're saying, Andrea, like too often our government agencies that are supposed to protect the people with fewer resources, the people with less power, side with the landlords, side with the developers, side with the property owners. So what you're saying about OHA is like 100%. And I think that's why it goes beyond, like, we both need to support people individually and also think about how do we pressure these big entities that are not being responsible. Say it again.
They're always giving out false information. You know, like when you're supposed to report things. I've done it a few times and was told, oh, no, you don't have to, when I tried.
Yeah.
And they were telling me, well, don't. And then I ended up having to pay them all my stimulus payback, back rent, because they claim they overpaid when I was told, don't report income. And I was like, well, I was told to when I came in. You guys turned me away. You told me don't report it. So it's like, you know, I mean, do I report this or do I not report it? You know, what's going on.
Yeah.
And they always tell you, well, go back and read this and read that. Okay, well, I read it, but are we on the same page? You know, so it's kind of confusing dealing with Section 8 because they give you false information and they lie to you. And they're not supposed to, you know, turn you away, or they're supposed to help you out, but they are not doing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's real bad that they're doing that. And I had to go through, I had called you guys, I called the East Bay Community Law Center. I've even had to call, oh God, what is the woman's name? It was through the city of Oakland, Barbara Lee's office. And I've also had to go above Section 8 said and go to their executive directors on a lot of problems.
Wow.
They don't care.
Yeah. And I want to lift up the work that all the work that you're doing to advocate for yourself. I'm just here for a pretty short time. And I think part of what Regina asked me to do was share a little bit of information about some of the protections that are available to tenants. I know there might be a mix of people here in terms of who's a renter, who, you know, what people's housing situations are. But I wanted to make sure in this little time that I have to give you some basic information about some tenant protections that are available right now during the pandemic, knowing that, just as you're saying, Andrea, there's like such a depth of challenges and issues that people are facing that really deserve more time and conversation. And so I'm going to share a little information now, and then depending where we are, we can maybe have a little short time for questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can present some stuff to you all. We'll do that. Give me 1 moment here. Okie doke. Are you all seeing a slide that says housing is a human right?
Is a human right?
Great, we're on the same page. Okay, so I want to start by, I mentioned that we work to, fight for tenant protections. So at the beginning of the pandemic, Casa Justa, together with many of our longtime allies and, tenants, regular folks, fought really hard to win some of the strongest tenant protections in the country during the pandemic. And so these are the Oakland and Alameda County moratoriums on evictions. And so if you walk away from one thing from this section, I want you all to know that nearly all evictions in Alameda County are illegal during the moratorium. And this moratorium is going to last until 60 days after the local health emergency is lifted by the county. And so this is true if you're not able to pay your rent. This is true if your landlord wants to move into your house. This is true if you have a disagreement with your landlord. For nearly all cases, eviction is not legal right now. So if a landlord, if you know somebody who is afraid because they can't pay their rent, this is happening to you, I want you to know that evictions are supposed to be basically stopped right now in Alameda County. even though we know that many
Then
landlords,
they were still doing it.
that's right, many landlords break the law all the time.
Exactly.
That's why I want to get this information out
yes.
there,
Oh,
right?
I know mine is.
Yeah, that's right. So the only legal reasons to evict someone during this time are if a tenant is an imminent threat to public health or safety. So that's not like having COVID, that's like needs to be really clearly defined. If a court or government agency has ordered the property vacated. So that would be something like your building is physically unsafe.
Condemned.
Yes, condemned, red tagged, it's gonna fall down on your head.
Appropriate
And
to live in.
yeah, and Andrea, I just want to remind you that interpretation is happening. So I think it's hard when we talk over each other. But I super appreciate that you're engaged and you're so knowledgeable. So thank you, yeah. And so the last reason would be if the landlord is trying to remove the property from the rental market using something called the Ellis Act. Now, this is not the same as your landlord is selling the building, your landlord wants to live there. That does not count. The Ellis Act is very complicated and the landlord would have to give you a lot of paperwork and a lot of time. So that's probably not what's happening. The other main thing I want to talk about today is emergency rental assistance. So you may have heard about a program, you know, when Governor Newsom signed a bill called SB 91 back in January. It said that there was going to be, you know, money coming in from the state to support tenants who are not able to pay their rent. So there are two programs that are running now well, there's lots of programs, but two that Oakland tenants can apply to. One is run by the city of Oakland, and the other one is run by the state of California. So for both of these programs, there's some eligibility requirements. So at least one person in the household has to either have qualified for unemployment benefits or have financial impact from COVID-19, such as lost income, increased costs, or other, you know, COVID-related financial hardships. And at least one person in the household has to be able to demonstrate a risk of housing instability. There are not strict definitions of that, but some examples could be being behind on rent, having an eviction notice, being behind on your utility bills, having experienced homelessness in the past. All of those things would count as a risk of housing instability. There are also some income eligibility requirements, which I'll get into in a moment. But first, I also want to highlight for you to know and for you to share with folks in your community. People applying to this program will not be asked about their citizenship status or asked to show proof of citizenship. So regardless of people's citizenship status or documentation status, they can apply to this program, and that is not going to be a question that comes up. So, oops. In order to figure out which program you should apply for, it's really a question of income. So if your income level is at or below 50% of the area median income, that's what AMI stands for in Oakland, you want to apply to the Oakland program. I will be sharing a packet with you all, a document that has a link to the website. So if you live in a larger household, you'll be able to see also all of the different, you know, income breakdowns. The program is prioritizing people who are considered the most vulnerable for housing instability based on income, previous experiences of homelessness, or living in a zip code that has high COVID rates. So if you live like me in West Oakland, some parts of East Oakland that have these really high COVID rates, that's considered, you know, more vulnerable. I'm gonna skip this slide because I think I'm short on time. If your income is between 50% to 80% of the area median income, that's when you're gonna wanna apply to the state program. Both of these programs can be used to help pay back rent, as well as some amount of future rent, to help people actually stay in their homes, and also potentially utility bills. Both of these programs will pay the landlord or the utility provider directly, unless the landlord refuses to comply. And in that case, they can cut a check directly to the tenant. The last couple of things I want to highlight, landlords can also apply directly to these programs. So we're seeing some landlords coming and asking tenants, give me your social security number, give me your employment information, give me, and you do not need to do that. The program will contact tenants directly if they need information from you. So if your landlord has applied, the program will need some information from you as the tenant, but they will make that phone call. Similarly, if you apply, the program will call your landlord to get any information that they need from the landlord. And the second thing to know is that even if a tenant doesn't have like a written lease or written employment records, they can still apply for the program. They will need to provide documents, but that can be just a letter that's under penalty of perjury, just saying, I live at this address, etc. And then you don't need to worry about copying down the phone numbers on this slide. I, again, will be sharing a packet with you all with some resources. These are a few, there's a number of legal aid organizations that we refer people to that can help with your individual cases if anyone's having issues with their landlords or being threatened with eviction. We at Cosa Justa also have a hotline where we can support folks if you don't actually need a lawyer.
836.
And if you're experiencing issues with maybe a neighbor or a master tenant, a subtenant, that's a situation where we might refer to mediation. There's a great organization called Seeds, and I know that they do support in English as well as Spanish, and so we refer to them. And the packet that I'm going to share with you all will also have information to where to apply to both of the rental programs and organizations that can help you actually fill out the application. It is a long application. So you might, if you're someone who might need support with that, there's organizations that can support you directly. Okay, so let me just check my notes real quick. I'm gonna share in the chat this document which has all the referrals that I mentioned. You can also feel free to share that with people you know who were not able to attend today. Would love to get the information out there. It also has a whole slide presentation from the Know Your Rights training we did that was a little more in depth yesterday. So please feel free to use that information. And then the last thing I wanted to do is also just, reiterate, as we were talking about at the beginning of the presentation, like this movement is both very much about supporting each other and community defense case by case, and it's also about building this larger movement for tenant power, for working class power, and for tenant protections. I just spent a moment telling you all about some rent assistance money that's available, and that is like really important and also a drop in the bucket, right, when it comes to the need that is out there and what is really owed to our communities, right? We know that wealth has been extracted from our communities on a huge scale, and to be like, oh, you can have like a quarter of your rent for 6 months, that's outrageous, right? Like it's needed, but it's outrageous. And so, what you are all doing today and coming to this survival school and coming to past sessions is so important. And I really want to just like honor that and also invite you to continue to build with us at Casa Justa. We're a membership-based grassroots organization. again, building Black and Latinx community power. We would love to see you at a future Know Your Rights trainings. They go a lot more in depth. You know, it's 2 hours rather than like 20 minutes. And so I'm going to share the link where you can register for our next Know Your Rights training. It's going to be focused on harassment. And it's going to be about a month from yesterday. It's Wednesday, May 26th from 5 to 7 p.m. And it's over Zoom, just like this. The training will be accessible for English and Spanish speakers. We have interpretation. And so please click that link. You can click it right now and register, sign up, get it on your calendar, email your friends and share the link with them. We really want to keep growing this movement, keep growing our skills to defend our communities, and also keep getting to know all of you. Thanks so much for having me.
Eleanor, thank you so much. Housing is an inalienable right, and that is something that is in such a state of dire emergency all over the nation, you know, but in Oakland, in the East Bay, and in the Bay Area, it's just boggles the mind, you know, as we look out at our unhoused neighbors and those of us who are experiencing, you know, chronic displacement, and how our kinship networks and societies have been pushed out and pushed apart, you know, and the trauma that results from that. So thank you for speaking to the fact that it is a movement, and a movement that we can be part of, to empower ourselves, to build community, and to empower ourselves to work together for housing security for all. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
And I will make sure that I will stay in touch and continue to share those links. And I am very interested in the next edition of your Know Your Rights training, and I will advocate for our participants and members to be there. And of course, I will put that on my calendar as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Regina, and thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of your
Thank you so
afternoon and your
much.
training. Bye.
Okay, so speaking of housing rights and housing security, we are going to take a look at a 10 to 15 minute video clip. It's called The Moms of Magnolia Street, and it's about what a couple of families, single parent mothers, did in the name of housing security. So this is going to be very exciting.
Can everyone see the screen okay?
You want to give a thumbs up if you can see the screen?
This is my home. Like, I love Oakland. I am Oakland.
Born and raised right here in Oakland, California. West Oakland. Right here.
I grew up 3 blocks down. I used to play in this park summers after summers, and I seen my community change so much.
We have been dispersed to the hinterlands. We're living under the bridges in Antioch. I'm homeless.
In spite of having multiple jobs.
That doesn't give anybody the right to take someone else's property.
Coming up on Mom's house. This is the house that the mama built.
You came with troops.
This is a lot of firepower and a lot of heavy machinery for an eviction.
You gotta fight for the people you love.
For the people and part of this movement, we're taking our city back. Y'all are going to notice. Who's out? Mom's out. Who's out? Mom's out.
I've been living in Oakland for going on 15 years now.
When I was here, I just felt like I belonged more than anywhere else I've ever been. Even though I'm not from here, I don't have roots here. So I just couldn't deny it.
We found a beautiful city, a lot of culture, a lot of vibrancy, a lot of flavor, if you will.
It's just one of a kind. And there's just a lot of like soul here. Like I feel like there's a sense of like humility here.
It's got a good feel.
sometimes you know it when you like it. You like it when you know it.
I love the climate, the best in the world, in the whole planet.
We got it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's in the center of everything.
It has such a historic culture connected to it, especially like being a black person. Like Oakland has such a connected history with black people.
Oakland has always been, outspoken, the people here.
We speak over 126 languages in Oakland. Me and my friends, we tried to make a list one night, and we got up to 40.
This is a beautiful city, and no one really talks about that.
I love Oakland.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire,
Sorry, I just want to check. Regina, you said to stop it now?
No, I said at 2:05.
2:12? Oh, until
at the
2:05 on the
time.
clock. I'm sorry. Okay,
Okay.
sorry everyone. Restarting.
Okay.
Resuming.
I'm sorry.
If we contextualize this need for housing, you have to go back to the beginning of this country in the 1600s, where Africans brought here as slaves, living in the most rudimentary shelter for 250 years, generation upon generation. And it inculcates ideas in this country about whether or not black people even deserve to have housing.
The story of homes, of how a people live, is the story of the foundation on which a nation is built.
So when you get to the 60s and the Black Panthers, then of course the idea is we want housing fit for the shelter of human beings. We didn't just want a shack.
A stagnant, seething ghetto of impoverished blacks and Chicanos, surrounded by the white affluence of the Oakland Hills and suburban Alameda County.
We have fought hard to get just some place to live. Now here we are still talking about getting a place to live. The only thing we can do is to begin to organize ourselves for housing. That is why I liked Moms for Housing.
The flame is burning so hard inside of my soul.
I thought if you had 1,000 Moms for Housing, now you got a problem. But we're not ready to put in that fight. If we had, we'd have never let those women be pushed out of that house on Magnolia Street.
Y'all ready? We'll follow you. Okay. Come on, everybody. Let's go, let's go.
NBC Bay Area's Melissa Colorado shows us this radical response to California's housing crisis.
Samira Kareem and her friend Dominique Walker did not pay a security deposit.
Another property.
Right now at 11, a new twist on our housing crisis. Working moms who are homeless are taking matters into their own hands.
They've moved into a home. The problem is it's not their home.
With the help of activists and community members, homeless mothers took over this vacant house on Monday.
They say they're tired of the homeless crisis in Oakland, and they're tired of the city not doing anything about it.
Yep, we going in. Moms for housing.
Well, let's start with the furniture.
We have a big load coming in, a big futon.
We have a lot of potential. Beats a shelter, right?
Most definitely beats a shelter.
Beats a shelter, beats a tent, and beats sleeping in a car, right?
Can we mic you up?
A U-Haul truck means new neighbors are moving into this 3-bedroom house on Magnolia Street in West Oakland.
Meet Glowforge. It can transform a photo into a wallet.
Oh, look down.
How does it feel? Feels good. Feels good to be a part of something that's happening like this, especially in my situation.
You don't like chocolate? That's my favorite.
I was a tennis coach. I was taking the kids out to eat after tennis matches. So it was like, you're not homeless. You got a car, you got this, you got earrings. They didn't believe it until the Moms for Housing.
We was like sleeping here, there. We slept in our cars before. I slept out. The kids was like mad. We was homeless then. Now it's 2017. The first night we came out, we got robbed.
I think I did find out on Instagram and Twitter, but she didn't tell me nothing.
What'd you think when you first saw it?
I was just like, the revolution is about to start. I know. So just knowing her and that she don't back down, she's kind of like, she's a Taurus, so you know.
Like tennis had just finished. We won the championship in the tennis. We placed third. Devin and Ariana went to finals. And so I was on the high, you know, so it was like, just take it to the next. Like, I'm not going back low. Like, that lowness is not good. So I had to keep building. So I was like, oh yeah, let's go. What's the next thing?
Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. Fight.
Oakland doesn't have a housing crisis. It's a moral crisis.
I'm
it's a
on Zoom,
profiteering
but
crisis.
I can talk.
It's a speculators in my hood crisis. We should all be outraged. We have become so desensitized to people, children, living on the streets. Housing is a human right, and today I'm using that right. My family has been here since the 1940s. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather bought a house in East Oakland and is still in our family. After high school, I went to Mississippi for school, kind of stayed out there, and what I came back to wasn't what I left. Not able to live here, can't afford to live here. I work full-time, have a degree, still cannot afford to live here where I'm from. We were like sleeping in a hotel, so different hotels. It was horrible. We deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. I deserve to raise my children here. This is my home. Like, I love Oakland. I am Oakland.
That's what's up. All right, now let's get back to work.
What do you need to switch for?
Born and raised right here in Oakland, California. West Oakland. Right here. If you come out and talk to people, you'll see that it's different levels of homelessness. It's not just someone that looks dirty or doesn't have a job. It comes in different forms. People are still amazed, like, Missy, you were homeless all that time, sleeping on a couch bed with my 3 daughters, literally. Getting up every day, back hurting, going to work at Tesla, Macy's, all of these jobs, and still keeping a sane mind and a smile on my face like there's a tomorrow, because I have my kids to look for. In 2006, I was shot multiple times with an AK-47 at the intersection of 28th and San Pablo, riding my bike with a childhood friend. After the shooting happened, I experienced homelessness because I was out of a job for a while. I was trying to get back on my feet. I couldn't maintain the rent. They told me that I wouldn't have any kids, and then I conceived Destiny, and that's the reason why her name is Destiny, because she was just destined to be here. I think that was the turning point for me. I had just been shot, and it was just like a fire that just grew in me.
But we need thousands of people to show up to the next court date.
I don't know where it came from, but I believe it was birthed from then, from me being able to not speak.
So we gotta make this movement. You see how it's bringing people out and it's bringing us together? They don't like this. Right. This causing too much attention. These little old women. These little old women.
And so when I was able to speak, I never stopped speaking.
I know my emotions are completely irrelevant, but I will say that just looking at the faces of these mothers is making it really hard.
I'm employed as a director of an Oakland nonprofit.
You see, we got a rowdy bunch, don't we?
But I overall would consider myself a servant of the people.
We are going to win, y'all.
Housing is the foundation upon which every other building block that's necessary for human development is based. You can't have a decent educational outcome if your living situation is unstable. You can't have good health if you don't have a place to rest. It's an issue of life and death. And because it falls in Oakland along racial lines where 70% of the people living on the streets are African Americans, it challenges the very foundation of who we say we are.
Did you get in touch with her?
What started this particular experience was when so many people that I had relationships with came to me saying, hey, do you have any resources? Do you know of anything that's available? I can't keep saying no. What are we going to do? So I got everybody together and was like, hey, y'all, listen, let's do something. Let's plan. And, you know, things happen.
What we're doing is uplifting the courage of these mothers.
We come across vacant homes on a daily basis when we're organizing. Oh, there's an empty space, there's an empty space, there's an empty space.
We are Mothers for Housing. We plan to take and occupy vacant houses from speculators that are just sitting vacant. We believe that families sleeping on the street deserve to be there. Our end goal is to own the home, to purchase it from the speculator and put it into a community land trust so it'll always be affordable for folks to combat displacement in Oakland.
And I just prayed on it and was like, if I'm going to do it, I got to go all the way with it.
Do you worry about your safety in all of this? There's no telling how the city's going to react, how the police are going to react to this.
No, I don't have any worries about how the police will respond. I will say that I and we have thought through these things and are prepared for whatever can happen. And I'm willing to take that risk.
I grew up being homeless. It's sad that we live in a state where it's comfortable and people close their eyes to children sleeping on the streets. And today is a real big action of how that change is gonna look like. It's about to be raining. It's about to be cold outside. It's sad, and nobody should have to live like that. Nobody.
They don't need sheds. They don't need their cars. They
Thank you. That was just a small clip to the Moms of Magnolia Street. It is actually a 4-part series, and I will send out all of the links this evening.
What went wrong
with the recording?
Here, I'm on.
So I just want to take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. That is packed full of emotions. We look at that and it really hits close to home. So I want everyone to just, let's work with our shoulders again. Put that back up to our neck and ball our fists and just think about all of that. Yes. And release it and let it go. And Lisa, thank you. We can put our arms up, reaching for the sky, reaching for the truth and letting it go. Move our heads a little bit, circular motion, knowing that when we work together, that work can be evenly dispersed and we don't have to carry everything ourselves. So I just wanted to have a little discussion about what we just saw. And I wanted to ask really quickly, what inspired, and we can popcorn so anybody can answer. We don't have to go around any particular order. What inspired you about that film clip? What was one of the things that was inspiring?
I would say the fact that they had kids with them and they were in the streets. And I was homeless before. I held a Section 8 voucher and was still homeless. And I had 2 children with me. And I was going from couch to couch, sleeping. So I've seen a lot of that in myself from being homeless at one point in time.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Anyone else? What I thought was inspiring was that, yeah, they had children and they did it because of the children. They did it anyway. Most people would be like, oh, you don't want to bring kids into this. You just got to take. And they said, no, this is the reason why we're doing this. Anything else that inspired you about the film? Rebecca? Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I live by Lake Merritt. I've definitely seen homeless population. I've had people ask me for help specifically, so this definitely brought a human face to it. I've worked at orphanages before myself, so I've come more to a personal human face to it. So I definitely had a lot of compassion there, and it was definitely a very meaningful video of someone living in Oakland and just wanting to make a difference and also see what they were speaking to.
I agree.
Seeing what they were
Yes,
saying.
I agree. It does definitely humanize our unhoused neighbors when you can put a face to it. Thank you. That's a very important point. And Henrietta, you want to unmute?
Okay. What I found inspiring about the film was the dignity of the women. The fact that even though homelessness and those kinds of situations are extremely challenging, I didn't see the women allowing homelessness to define who they are. You know, yes, I love the fact that they were working, you know, they were still taking responsibility for their lives as far as staying in the groove of being alive. And so I really was inspired by that. You know, we just not letting circumstances define who you are.
I agree with that. The dignity that they want.
Because that's immense.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the dignity that they approach the situation with. It's like, and you know, with someone who is holding down two jobs and taking care of their children, you know that it is not an individual thing, it is a systemic thing.
Right.
So I have one more question to ask. And how important do you think that it was that they organized together as a group instead of individually? Yes, Henrietta.
Well, because there's power in numbers. You know, when you know you're not alone in a situation, that's encouragement, and it gives you the strength to continue on. So, you know, feeling alone is one of the reasons why sometimes we give up.
Does anybody else want to add to that or speak on that?
Especially with the kids, it was very, it gave a lot, like in doing it in a group, like to kind of give each other the like kind of help each other along, like you're not alone with this going on and the kids on top of it and having to work, and because the kids are enough work by itself, and then with the job on top of that, it helps to have like this union of sisterhood in it. So that's very powerful as well, I think. So
I agree. Sisterhood, unity, support, all of that, all of those things that make this group work and organizing possible when we don't have to carry things on our shoulders, when we don't have to carry all of it by ourselves. What would have been different? What do you think would have been different if it was just one person?
I don't think it would have went nowhere. It wouldn't went nowhere.
Yes.
It take it takes a lot of people to make a movement, not this one.
I agree, Monique. It very likely doesn't go anywhere. How many times have we gone to, the powers that be authorities with a complaint and you don't feel like you're being seen and heard and you get laughed at and it just doesn't go anywhere. But the power of numbers is so important. So we have, thank you all. And again, I will put the rest of those links. I will send that out in an email tonight in case you want to watch the rest of the episodes. There's 4 of them and they're all around 20 minutes each. And so right now we have about another minute. So if you all just want to do some quick stretches or wiggles or go to the bathroom really quickly, and then we can get ready for our next presenter. I'm gonna mute her. Okay, everyone's basically still here. Just a little quick break and we'll have another 5-minute body break in about 20 minutes. So I would like to introduce Lisa Malul with Rebuilding Together, the executive director of the organization in the East Bay, Rebuilding Together. Thank you for coming today.
Hello. It's my pleasure really to be, talking with you. And I have to say, I've never participated in this conversation before with your group. So I want to thank you for welcoming me into it as a stranger. Hopefully I won't be so much of a stranger by the time we've completed this conversation. So, Ms. Regina, is it all right if I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So for everyone, when I do share the screen, you should be able to to have like the people side by side to your screen. You probably already know that, but just in case, oh, here we go. That's what I want to share. Am I sharing? Yes. Can you see this? The slides? Okay, great. And then let me put it in slideshow mode. And so that you're not seeing all the little things on the side. So is that working for everyone? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I realize everyone's muted. So, so first of all, just to say, so my name's Lisa. I'm the director at Rebuilding Together Oakland East Bay. We're located down in Jack London Square. We've been in Oakland since, I don't know, the 1990s. Some of you might know us originally as Christmas in April. So sometimes people are like, oh, you guys were Christmas in April, and then they know a little bit about that. So the organization, what we do is we bring together volunteers and businesses to actually go and work on homes in the community. The process there's 3 aspects to the process. One is for you to know that the people that we work with are homeowners. So these are people that live in their home, they've purchased their home, it's their primary residence, and that they are also fall, as the lovely woman from Casa Justa mentioned, within the, they're at 80% or lower of the Alameda County Poverty Index. And so once they fall within that, most of our clients are at the 20 or 30% range of AMI for Alameda County. So how the program works is that people who, again, own their homes and live in them full time and fall within that income category, who are seniors, who are veterans, who are disabled often, that those are the overall parameters for the application and eligibility into the program. And then there are two aspects to the type of work that we do. One is what we call our falls prevention program, which happens throughout the year. And we call it our Safe at Home program. And what that work, here we go. So what that work looks like is that we want to go and make sure that people are safe in their home. So it's really about health and mobility modifications that can happen. So oftentimes it's handrails, it's, you know, grab bars in the bathroom, doorknobs. I mean, all the things. I won't go through and list everything that's on here, since everyone can, you know, I imagine everyone can read it. If anyone can't read it, just, you know, let me know and I'll read through all the details. And so we'll go in and do these types of repairs, you know, night lights and so forth. And the idea is that we want people to age in place. When we talk about gentrification or we talk about displacement, one of the things that is very real about displacement is that if people can't manage the basic maintenance or the needs that they have as they get older, they are more likely to need to either live in tremendous disrepair or they will need to leave their homes. I'm just going to kind of go through some of I'm going to kind of flip through some slides as I'm talking. So what happens is then there become other sorts of problems that come up, and it can be debris, it can lead to leaks and other things that then have code enforcement from the city come in, and then people might lose their homes. It means that people might, you know, get, you know, be in, you know, very ill in their homes. Sometimes it's about peeling paint. And when that happens, sorry, we've got someone on the side there. When that happens, that's a really an existential threat to communities and to the groundwater. We've read about lead and what that means in water, what that means in soil, what that means for children if they are, oh, here, you can, this is when you can see, oh, we have a lot of, sorry, you guys. Oh, you can see some of the things that happen when there's leaky roofs and things of that nature that happen. So these are the, I'm going to just go back to the beginning. These are the sorts of things that we deal with year round. And again, people apply for the program and then we do as much as we can each year. For the Safe at Home program, we serve, I would say, you know, maybe 110 people, maybe a little bit more every year. All the work that we do is free, so it's at no cost. So a lot of times I will say one of the barriers that we have is that we'll tell people that the work is free and then they're like, well, how much is it? And they're like, it's free, because it's very hard to believe that anyone actually does things for free, right? So that's one part of the program. The other part of the program that we do, which is not year round, but is typically in the spring and the fall, are I hear something upstairs, home rehabilitation. And that kind of work is the more in-depth, everyone close their eyes for a second because I'm going to scroll really quick down to, so home rehabilitation work. So for example, here, what you see is, you know, the peeling paint. If you go inside, you'll typically see other kinds of challenges. You can see some of the people that are doing the volunteer work. Okay, here you see some, a deck, right, that's falling through. And there's a very sweet Mr. Carey lived in that home, and he had a little doggy, and he couldn't get outside, and all the dog excrement was inside the home, and he was living in the living room because there were all of these other kinds of issues in the house. So these are sort of the types of different type. You can see this fence was like going to fall over. You can see in this the amount of challenge in the rear of this home was, it's fire hazard. Here's a floor. You can see the state of what the floor is. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second because it's, I think, a lot to look at. So those are that's the kind of work that we do. The way that it happens is that it's sort of a magical process because there are so many pieces of what go into it. So if the person living in their home does not, behind me is another home that we had worked on. This is before we worked on it, not after we worked on it. But if people who need assistance, it takes a lot of courage to ask for help because you're letting people into your private world, right? It's a different kind of sharing than like a personal sharing and telling your story necessarily in a group where you can feel very vulnerable, but it's actually the same feeling. You're letting a stranger walk into your house, into your bedroom, into your bathroom that's in, significant disarray. And there can be, obviously a lot of different emotions along with that. So a lot of the work that we do is over time building relationship with the homeowner so that they will allow us to, go inside. So that's one piece, and that's it can be hard for people. It's also a tremendous gift because if they didn't have the courage to do that, then all of the volunteers that actually do the work wouldn't have the opportunity to help, right? So it's sort of an infinity loop of giving and receiving, okay? Because if there wasn't the opportunity and the courage of someone to ask for the help, we wouldn't have the opportunity to give it. And the same thing, if people weren't generous enough to give of their time and their resources, then the person wouldn't be able to receive the help, right? So it's really equal. Ultimately, it's equal partners coming together. And then you have the businesses and other community people who make contributions to the organization, because if we didn't have, so it's the courage of the people to ask, the willingness and generosity of the people to do the work, the generosity of the people to fund the work. And then we have the process of, which I think is actually the hardest part of our job, is we have to make selections based on the resources, the funds we have, the skill of the volunteers that we have, and the need of the person in their home. So oftentimes people ask, well, how come we didn't get selected for this time around? And it's not necessarily, we try to rate things based on, we recognize things that have the most dire need, but we might not have the type of people to work on that, right? So we are always trying to refer and cross-refer and help people and get them what they need. And we are always trying to develop new relationships, one, for more people to know about us and also for people to volunteer with us and all of that. So that's sort of the overall way that the organization operates. And it's very beautiful work. It's very rewarding work. It's very special work. In terms of overall, I know, and we've been in talking, and the video, beautiful video, very moving, that you showed, you know, is so much about people that are housing displaced. And it's so important in our world that used to be the secret, right? That you don't see it, therefore it's not happening, right? So now we're shining this really big light on an issue and a human entitlements, human need, right? What there should be is a very base, at the most basic level of human need, right? And that's a human right, right? So we talk about that. What I find that I need to explain now is that senior homeowners, right, who are living in these kinds of circumstances, like what you see in this image. I mean, this is what you just see on the outside. You really can't imagine what you would be seeing on the inside. So imagine like the shed back there, but that's inside. Is what I find I have to say is, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So if someone is fortunate enough, you would say, to own their home, people might say, well, why do we need to help them? And it's like, well, because it's the integrity of any structure is essential for someone to be able to live in there safely. Now, well, why is that important? And partly, I mean, some of the things that I talk about is that someone can do everything right. You know, you get married, right? You purchase a home, you raise your children, you put money in saving in the bank, and then all of a sudden you're older and the world looks very different than it did. And the money in the bank wasn't enough, right? The amount that you're living on, only on Social Security, because you don't have a pension, right? Which most people actually don't. The house starts to fall more and more and more in disrepair. The cost of healthcare, right? I mean, it's the same. These are all the same issues that can push people out and is a lot of cause of the displacement that we have to begin with. So, you know, we're looking at people that have done a lot of those things that have still managed to hang on and to be in their home aren't less deserving of the kind of social safety net and support. You know, they're as deserving as, you know, as anyone else is. Another factor that we talk about a lot is that when we're talking about cycles of poverty or displacement, is about being able to preserve an asset for the next generation, right? Right now, there's a lot of discussion in housing, as there should be, about the amount of wealth that was never able to develop, or, you know, for people based on being able to get a mortgage, about where you might have been able to purchase or not been allowed to purchase a home, you know, different kinds of opportunities in that way. So now you have some folks who do have an asset, but you don't want them to lose that asset. And then that's yet another way of, you know, losing these, you know, family wealth that you really want to be trying to build up over time. Plus, it can often be the youth, the children, the grandchildren who are having trouble finding housing and all of that. So you want to preserve all of this, as well as preserve the fabric of your communities where people are living. So that is, I would say that's overall, you know, maybe sort of the imprint of what we do, of why we do it, of how we do it. And I know that we don't have so much time. So I thought maybe maybe I can leave it there. And if there are questions or we want to talk about this in some way, again, my name, you can see it, it's Lisa Malol. The organization is Rebuilding Together Oakland, East Bay. And we have a website, which is www.rtoakland.org. I will put this in the chat.
Thank you for doing that. And Maya has her hand up. I believe she has a question for you, Lisa.
Of course.
Hi, thank you so much. Just so you know, I'm in the hospital right now with I'm trying to talk softly because.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. Yeah, my daughter was hospitalized a couple days ago, but I really wanted to be at this presentation.
Okay?
I typed a lot of my question in the chat, but we are one of those families where like a mixed class, multiracial, trans and queer, disabled, tri-generational, multilingual family. So and my husband bought our house in 2002 and then became job disabled in 2011. And our daughter became disabled in 2013. And then I've had multiple diagnoses in the last 4 years and was working full time and have been on temporary disability for a couple of years. And I've wondered, we have an inaccessible home, and Kaiser won't give me a power wheelchair if I can't use my wheelchair in my home. And, I know multiple queer and trans disabled folks who've had to get divorced to be able to access services, and we've been together 23 years. We fought so hard to be able to get married that having to divorce to be able to get disability services or to be able to get in my home is so painful. And I've thought about, and this organization made me go, like what Stacey Park Milburn did with Disability Justice Culture Club of doing a massive grassroots community campaign to be able to get ramps and make her home accessible. I wonder whether folks, like I'm a good grassroots fundraiser. Our family doesn't qualify for a lot of services because my husband's disabled firefighter retirement is higher, puts us out of the poverty level in some indicators, but we have struggled with food, with mortgage, with being able to fix things, we're struggling financially. And I was the only full-time worker before I got injured at work. So I've just wondered, in a family like mine, I could imagine mobilizing to make our home kind of San Antonio Disability Justice, Culture Club here or something, not to appropriate, but to honor that history. We had been asked to do things like to be a hub, to have a during power to live with the power outages but we don't have an accessible bathroom because we don't have an accessible home. So anyway, I've just wondered whether there are ways that folks like us could collaborate with you to actually do more fundraising to expand the capacity for us to stay in our home, but also to help expand the funding for other families in our community.
Well, I think well, first of all, I'm sorry, that it's so hard. I think that it's one of the things that's so challenging is that there isn't enough safety net, and there should be. In terms of the things that you need done, for your home and your family, I would encourage you to take a look, go to our website and go under services, and there's an application form in there. So take a look at the application and complete it, and then we can see, you'll be able to see if you have, what the eligibility is. But definitely take a look at that and then see if you think it makes sense to complete it. And then Sonia Barragan from my staff, she is the person who would, go through that application with you. Ramps are so essential, and they're difficult because they can be extremely expensive, but that's why we work to raise the money for that. I will say that we never ask, and in fact, we aren't, I don't want to say aren't allowed. It's like we don't fundraise from people that for folks whose homes we work on. We don't accept donations from them. It's just not, it doesn't feel appropriate.
Yeah.
And so that's a decision that my board, myself and my board, I mean, that we, made the determination about a pretty long time ago. So that doesn't mean that, so I think that I just want to separate that out from the conversation, from the questions that you're raising. So I would say that, but to take a look and see, and then if we're not able to help, we would, help to, try to identify some resources that might be useful. And I think someone's putting these into the chat, which is really great.
Excellent. Sorry, we have a diabetes team is coming into the room, so I have to get off. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I put the GoFundMe that Stacey Park Milburn did as an example that was really inspiring to me. Okay,
Great.
I'm still
Thank you
here.
for
Thank you so
sharing
much.
that resource. I appreciate you. Does anyone else have any questions? I believe Jessica early on asked about, does rebuilding together, does that include ramps and stair lifts?
We haven't done any stair lifts. It may, sometimes we can do ramps. It depends. If there are, oftentimes in Oakland, we have the stairs that are that high. To do a ramp like that is, the amount of ramp, it's 1 foot for every step is the code. So imagine, what that looks like in terms of a zigzag. So sometimes it may not be possible based on the home. Sometimes if it's something like that, it is definitely a very intensive permit process. Not to get, I mean, not that this is so technical, but getting a little bit into the weeds. Sometimes we are able to do them if it's a little bit, if they're lower. Sometimes we're able to do them where there are different kinds of ramps that don't necessarily attach to the house, but that are
like a portable ramp.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Yeah.
And do you, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'm in a wheelchair myself, and I was able to get a ramp on my house that is very long. But I remember when I was doing it, it was hard figuring out what kind of funding might be available. And for a house with a lot of steps where there's not space for a ramp, do you ever do a lift? Like, is that something that you would consider paying for if it was feasible?
It is something that, it's something that is not, let's see. We consider and try to figure out how we can do everything. So just to preface it with that, that is something that the cost is very high and not something that we would probably be able to raise dollars for. So in that sense, I would say that we focus more on, for example, roof repair. If we can raise, so right now we've started a roof repair campaign but every roof, even a patch, is costing us almost $10,000. So, and then, so it's sort of, and then for those homes, I guess our priority has been, if it's a really, like, that's the biggest ticket item that we usually address.
So a related question. So in San Francisco, this was a big issue of older people and people with disabilities not being able to stay in their homes or being stranded in their homes. Like Maya is a good example, right? Either she's in or she's out.
Right.
Maya,
Mr. Carey had the same problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so what we did in San Francisco was we fought for a new fund from the city and county of San Francisco to pay for accessibility related modifications. And so that can help pay for things like stair lifts and ramps and lifts. Is that, I don't know, is that something that has ever happened in Oakland or in Alameda County, or something that would be useful for, for all of us to think about?
I think that that's something that would be extremely useful for us to think about. And I can't say, I do not know if that has been something that's been taken on in the county by any particular group. If that is something that was to take shape, it's something that we'd be very happy to be a part of, you know.
That's
And
good
I
to
think
know.
it would be, tremendously, it's a tremendous need because we have a long list of people that need ramps, um, and then it would help because that's also something that in most of those cases, we need to have skilled people, and basically what you really want is to have contractors do it.
Right.
Things of that nature. And that's not, we don't have contractors on our staff. We have sometimes contractors that'll volunteer,
You
right?
don't
So
pay
we're
people.
in that, yeah, we're in that little nether world. So yes, and yes, and yes.
That is really helpful. Thank you. And just something I think for everyone here to think about, if SDA folks in the East Bay want to fight for that at some point, we can certainly talk about it.
I'm in.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. That was a very smooth segue. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yes. Lisa, thank you so much for coming and being with us today. And thank you for your participation. I'm so glad that you came and were able to witness the other presenters and the other activities that we had for the day. We really enjoyed you.
Oh, well, thank you all so much for letting me into your
Yeah.
very, very tender space. So, all right, I'm going to sign off.
We will be talking soon. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. How we doing out there? We feeling okay? We're in our last 15-minute stretch, and 5 minutes of that is actually going to be a real break. And then we're going to come back and have a reflection discussion activity called scenarios. And we're going to see what everyone has been taking in and processing around our presenters in the survival school with just some real life scenarios. We'll just ask you a few questions and see what we come up with around what we learned about the resources that are available. So I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes, come back at 10 minutes to 3.
Regina, before you do that, I think Maya has her hand up.
Oh, she left her hand up and she just.
Oh, that's from before. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. So we've got 5 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. So I know that we have been taking in a lot of information. There's been a lot of presenters and panelists. So I just wanted to bring in some scenarios and see if we can remember what services and resources are out there available for us. So feel free to popcorn. You don't have to raise your hand. And let's see. So the first scenario is, if you were 2 months behind on your rent because of a COVID-related illness and received a 3-day notice, who would you contact?
I can't think of the name of the program that you had, the name of it, but it was the one that some of the out of the stuff that just Cause gave.
Casa Justa Just Cause?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
I dealt with them before, so that's the only reason why I remembered that.
Yes. And do you remember the name of the program?
No, that's what I said. I don't remember the name of the program, but
Okay, the Emergency Assistance Rent Relief Program.
Right.
Yeah, awesome.
They're great. They're great at their job. I had to visit their office several occasions.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the upcoming trainings. Okay, second question. Thank you for that, Andrea. If you are receiving EBT, but you are having a challenging time stretching it to the end of the month, what would you do?
There's the community food bank, community fridge. There's also some great neighbors if you have them.
Okay, food bank, community fridge. Are there any others? So what if you needed groceries but couldn't leave the house?
Well, I mean, I never really had to come across that because I do have my daughter, and I had it's in East Oakland. Oh God, what is the name of it?
Okay, does anybody remember it was
with groceries?
Pardon me?
Okay, I can't think of the name. It's in East Oakland, and
I think Cora has her hand up.
Well, isn't that's like the mutual aid program?
Yes.
That you
yes.
People helping people, you know, you can volunteer to help others, or you may be the person that's requested aid of this companionship shoppers, or
Yes.
if you're lonely for companionship in some way.
The Cross Bay Mutual Aid Project. Yes, they cover all of that. Phone buddies, groceries. I've even heard of them coming and helping people with their computer, doing some house cleaning, home care. We'll do some tidying up and house cleaning. I've heard of them helping people get lifts and transportation to make it to medical appointments. And then also remember Charlie Didulin, who was speaking about SOS Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels, right?
Yes, they deliver too. Another scenario I'm just going to put out there. What if a person was experiencing PTSD and needed to secure housing? What if they needed to secure housing, but they were experiencing PTSD? What is the organization that they would call?
That position. I mean,
Yep, that was just Tuesday.
and he did a beautiful presentation.
It was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's
And they
okay.
had a serious job.
We just forgot his name, that's all. It's a he, and
Yeah.
Bay Area Community Services, BACS, that's right, Roy Betancourt.
Yeah, I apologize. There's so many great things that we're learning about and so many names that I just don't have a good memory for names. But
That's okay. That's okay. This is just a brush up. And this is just also to let you all know that everything that we were able to witness and be a part of is going to be in the survival sheets that will be ready by next week. So all of the links, little mini presentations, just little reminders. So yeah, that's just a little exercise and just reminding people what is available in their communities and at their fingertips. So we have about 4 minutes. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share, that they want to talk about? We're welcoming, is it Isa Abrahams?
Yes, it is.
Oh, with that beautiful hat on, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome. I saw you when you came in and I welcomed you in the chat, but I hadn't been able to speak to you personally. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having it.
Yeah, it's been a very full day, definitely. So speaking of a full day, is there anything that stuck with you, that spoke to you, that inspired you today, Isa?
Yeah, actually, the work that you do with seniors was very impressive.
And I'm sorry, what work in particular?
Oh, I'm sorry. The last presentation on the retrofitting stuff that they do with seniors. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's so important. Yeah, I enjoyed that too, because I also remember from the film clip, The Moms of Magnolia Street, how one of the young women said that, you know, this is a community that she grew up in and her family still owns homes here, you know, and so knowing that it's passing through, you know, that these homes are passing down to generations and that their elders still in homes, it's important to know that that service is there because that helps the elders be able to stay in their homes. Elders.
That is, yeah, it's very important.
Thank you very much for that reminder. Yeah, that was such a powerful presentation and a really good connection.
Do you know anything about the community, the Oakland Community Land Trust?
Not as much as I should. Not as much as I should. And that is something that I would like to explore further. Can I ask you why you are asking?
I have a home and I'm interested. I'm probably going to have to sell it, but I'm interested in finding out if I can do a land trust instead.
You know, that's really powerful because that also was in the film, right? So I would say to contact Moms for Housing.
Okay.
I don't know. Let me check really quickly. Is that a .com or a .org? And I will put that in the chat up. Yep, it's a .org. So let me put this in the chat really quickly. because they do have recent experience doing that with that house on Magnolia Street. I think they would be a great organization to contact.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So it's 3 p.m. everyone. If we want to quickly go around and everyone just drop one word about how you're feeling right now today with all the information that we took in.
This is Henrietta.
Yes.
Support it. Support it.
This is
I'll
Ray.
support it.
Yes, Ray.
Unity, how everybody's we're able to reunite with each other and strengthen numbers.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree.
Yeah, the word strength. The word strength comes up. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Excited and together. This is Cora.
Yes.
They educated.
Educated. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of knowledge never hurt no one, and a lot really helps.
Interdependence.
Ooh, that's a powerful one too. I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling grateful for this community, for everyone and all the different roles we play and how we show up for each other and how we support one another. June, do you have a word for us right now?
Thank you. I only
How are you feeling?
sorry.
I said, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Been busy. I took upon myself to go do an errand and it took longer, so I'm sorry. I came in and but as I come in, I try to get on it as fast as I can.
Yeah, we're
I'm
glad to.
enjoying the group. I am enjoying the group. I think that it's showing me that there are people out there that are actually trying to do good towards the community. I don't think that I would have known that, mutual aid. I use mutual aid and because of my daughter's disability. But recently I just got in here and because someone put me here and invited me. But I just think that I'm just continuing to find out that there are resources that I would like to know though, if I don't mind asking you if you have someone who, how to apply for the Social Security. For old age.
I would like to.
Yep.
I would like to help you out with that. And that is something that I would like to speak with you after the survival school, because we are 3 minutes over and I want to give everyone a chance to weigh in, but we can definitely, I can definitely give you a call.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. Andrea, would you like to share one word about how you are feeling right now with everything that we learned and shared today?
I am actually feeling great right now. And I mean, all the information was good. I mean, even though I used and utilized a lot of the programs, I mean, they did give more information than I already knew. And I'm glad that I was able to tune into the Zoom meetings.
Wonderful. Glad to have you. And Dawson, our wonderful tech support.
I'm feeling lots of power, especially how, the video that we've seen about Moms for Housing is really powerful, and it just like how there is no housing crisis, right? It's a crisis of morality and the things that we need we have already, and we just need to fight to get them. Maybe in the community, stand for one another. Sorry, it's like not one word. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling. I'm really happy to be
Thank
here.
you. Thank you, Dawson. And I just want to let everyone know that Dawson is our survival school organizer, and they are amazing. So if you ever get an invitation to attend any of their survival schools, I would not miss it. Absolutely amazing facilitator. Shirley, would you like to weigh in? And Jessica, would you like to drop one word or a phrase? Oh,
Sorry,
Trish,
I was muted.
I'm
I am
sorry, you're Shirley.
I'm blessed to just be a part of this. I gave a person that I know that needed needed a resource for the East Bay mutual aid, and they got on and they had their little groceries delivered to them, and I'm just so blessed to know that I could help someone out through your services you have for us to, we with this program for everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you. And Jessica.
Hi, sorry for being off video. I was eating lunch. I didn't think you all wanted to watch me. I want to say, I'm sorry, I cannot do one word, but I'm really excited for the potential for all of us organizing together in the East Bay for some really needed and exciting change.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So this concludes our survival school series for the week. And we have 2 more sessions next Tuesday and Thursday. So stay tuned for the links, and I am going to work on the recorded versions and make those available to you in the next 48, 72 hours at the latest. Everyone, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you
Thank you
so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody have a great day.
Have a great day. Get some sunshine.
Bye, everybody.
Some fresh air. Bye, Ray.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Bye.
June.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
Henrietta. Bye, Andrea. Bye, Isa. Bye, Maya.